Well, perhaps we can take a look at, are you anger? Do you get angry? Because where anger is also where a robotic person is. Anger has one implication. It means that you are trapped in language. It means that you are easily conned. You can be made to go down many roads and you lose who it is that you are because you're trapped in thought. Thought is the home, obviously, of the ego. And if you have an ego, then you live from your ego. You don't live from you, the real person. So if you care ever to experience heaven, nirvana, to be free, to experience what to be human is, then watch you. If you notice yourself getting angry, some people call it mad, and that's really kind of a good word, mad, because mad means mentally ill, then you'll know that you're not a real live human being. You are a robotic person controlled by thought. And if you look at our world in general or the United States today, then you'll see idiots running all over the place, having this sign, that sign, killing people, going out on the streets, all sorts of things. All because of anger. As you watch them, you can see they're lost in anger. They're angry, not realizing, by the way, the person they're angry with is themselves. However, there's a certain universal truth, which is when you are egotistical, you blame, I'll leave it blank, whoever, anybody, everybody, it's always someone else's fault. Except for you know who. So if you could take your experience of anger, and let's use the word capture it, hold on to it. Like a runaway horse or something, hold on to it and find out where it takes you to. You'll discover that it takes you to a place where you first became angry. And then you can stay with it and discover the seat of your anger. SEAT. The problem with what I'm conveying and what I have been conveying for 41 years is that there's no language for it. We're kind of jumping around here a bit. The reason there's no language for it is because people listen through their ego invented filter. They are then easily tripped. TRIPTED, I think that's spelled, which means that they're easily conned. The greater the embedded anger, the greater the belief system a person holds, the easier they are to con. Look at the Trump cult. He just sneezes and they all wipe his nose for him, change his Pampers perhaps. That is to say that as long as you have any anger within you, then you are controlled by another word that we will introduce here, if you will. Feelings. You see? Feelings are what we introduce to ourselves, or what we invent within ourselves to keep other people away from us. The feeling of being ignored, the feeling of jealousy, anger, all those things. And if you care to remove them, live in the space of ecstasy, of being free, where there's no suffering, no sorrow, no. There's a song there that just came up, but I canceled it. The easiest people to con, to manipulate, are people who get angry, or people who get happy and sad, people who are jealous, people who have to be right. If you take any of those feelings, the only thing you need to do is catch one of those feelings and stay with it. Don't let it buck you off, if we can stay with the analogy of the horse. Ride it to the end. Stay right with it. Go wherever it goes. Internally with yourself, by the way. And for most people, if they don't do this internally with themselves, they attack the federal buildings and break windows and shoot people. But if you do it in and of yourself, follow anger, or any feeling. We're just using anger as an example. Follow it to its birth. And if you do, when you arrive at the birth, kind of silly sounding, isn't it, of anger, you'll discover jealousy, pain, anxiety, sorry, happy, sad. You'll discover all of the feelings that you have added to yourself because you put them all in the same, you might call it a junk drawer, Junk, junk drawer. And at that point, it is possible for you to remove them. The reason's kind of a silly word. The reason it's impossible for you to remove them, is because you installed them. You grabbed a hold of them, you put them in there, you nursed them, watered them, fed them, and then they took you over. And as I said, the only thing needed is to grasp one of the feelings and follow it, stay with it. The end result, if you stay with it to the end, is you will end up in a can of worms. Your ego. Your ego is where you store all of your have to be rights and all of your anger, your jealousy, your pain, your suffering, your misery, your regrets, your sorrow, your sadness, your happiness. All of it's right there. All in the same tin, the same hole. At that point, there's only one anytime I say there's only one, I realize there's a mistake there. There's one thing you can do. This is probably the most important part of the conversation, if we're having a conversation together. Are we having a conversation together? And that is that if you see that you become angry or any of those other feelings, then the necessity is that you admit your failure, that you are a failure at being a human being, which means that you are a success at being a person or people. Those who are people or persons can kill each other. They can rape each other. They can get mad, get into big fights. They can marry 8, 10, 15 different men or women, or 5 or 6 or 3 or 4, or give their word until death do us part, and then 6 wives later, or 3 wives later, or 2 wives later, whatever it is, they're still lying. So I realize, by the way, that I'm going into a lot of different domains of conversation here. And it's given, there really isn't a way to have the conversations that we're having. You see, I really do see that I'm failing 100%, 99, at communication. And that the failure is there's almost no way, did you notice the word almost, to communicate with people because they have their already existing, already loaded filter system. When I use the words filter system, what I mean is they already know. When they know what's right, they know what's wrong. There isn't even such thing as right and wrong. But they all know what's right and wrong. You see? If I could take anything away from people, maybe the first thing would be, there's no such thing as right and wrong. There's only, is it true or is it a lie? And here is a universal truth. Planet Earth, the people on planet Earth have been living from knowledge, from thought, from belief for thousands of years. And when you live from knowledge, thought, and belief, all of those things are already dead. They're already gone. They're already in the past. They're already dead. They're already a lie, essentially. So the only thing they can do is repeat what they've already done. If you consider the possibility of living from creation, which is nothing, then in creation there's no history, there's only what is right now, facing what is. It doesn't mean it didn't come from our history, it just means that you recognize it in the now. And from there you create a new direction, a new you. The one secret here is, if there's going to be a new direction for you, for Earth, then it needs to start with you, your own new direction. We came upon this place where we are now because thousands of years ago, people moved from creation, intelligence, and thought, creation, intelligence, and truth into knowledge and thought and belief. My suggestion, and it's just a suggestion here, is that we have come to end times. We've come to that place where raping women, going to war, kill, maim, murder has run its course. And my suggestion here is perhaps to transform ourself and then the planet, or, as I've said before, my buddy, I really have never met him, Buckminster Fuller said, perhaps the experiment called life on planet Earth will come to an end. Now that's pure conjecture. There's no way of knowing that. And actually, there's no way of being right about that, because if it happens, there's not anybody. There won't be around. There won't be anybody around to say Bucky Fuller was right, because there's. Anyway, you get the point. If he was right, then there's not anybody be around to authenticate that he was right, or that I repeated it. Either one. So if you can at least hear one thing, given that communication is almost impossible with people who are lost in ego, lost in knowledge, lost in thought and belief, then consider this. If you, in your life, get angry with your wife, even if you have a your wife, because you see your implies ownership, doesn't it? If you get angry with the relationships that you have, your relationships, that which relates to you, then you are trapped in thought. You are a robot, a robotic person that is being directed by, controlled by, knowledge, thought, and belief. And all that knowledge, thought, and belief can do is repeat. So all you can do is get a divorce, find a new wife, get another divorce, find. All right. We've gone over our 17 minutes. Oh my God, most of you, all you thousands of people who are listening are probably gone by now. We're listening, that is. So if you can hear one thing that's being suggested here, the next time you get angry, catch it. Ask, where did that anger come from? Catch it in the now. Because if it's in the now, it is manifesting now. It's not from the past. But in the now, you can identify where in your past you invented your own, well, first ego, and then the ego's biggest protector. The greatest protector the ego has is anger. So if you need to know why you get angry, then it's because you have to protect your ego. And the fact that you have an ego means you're fake. It means you're a robot, a robotic person. Now, hell, I'm all the way up to way too many. A perfect experience of catching your own anger, or any feeling, is sent to each of you.